Hello, and welcome to the EduTalk series hosted by Biotone Edu Partner Program, and massage industry experts. With the growing interest and popularity of the EduTalk series, Biotone continues to support virtual learning and building massage community by connecting you with industry experts who share their knowledge and expertise on topics not only for our class discussion, but career success. Tonight's expert is Kathleen Lisson, a board-certified massage therapist. She's taught mindfulness at IPSB Massage College and is author of Mindful Strategies for Adult Clients with Adverse Childhood Experiences. She's offering a free CE class titled Being Present for Our Clients, Mindfulness for the Massage Therapist. And she's offering this through her website, KathleenLisson.com. There will be more information about this at the end of the presentation, as well as a link in tomorrow's email follow-up with the recording. Let's listen and learn as Kathleen introduces mindfulness for the massage therapist. She'll share a variety of mindfulness and breathwork practices designed to improve self-awareness and more. She'll include mindfulness strategies to incorporate throughout your day and between sessions for stress reduction, balance, and increased presence with clients. Let's be sure our videos are off and sound is muted. Please feel free to chat questions or comments to Kathleen during the presentation, which will be answered at the end. And with that, we have a lot to cover. Kathleen, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'll see you on the other side.
Yes, thank you so much. And a real big thank you to Biotone. This is amazing opportunity for me and massage therapists like me to share this information with other massage therapists. So thank you very much for helping us make this happen. So today, the topic is mindfulness for the massage therapist, and I'll give you a kind of taste and introduction. And then, as she said, if you want to go ahead and take that free CEU, it's at my website, KathleenLisson.com. Now, I wonder. Now, okay. So who am I? I'm a meditation and mindfulness teacher, a yoga teacher, a lymphedema therapist, and a board certified massage therapist. I also taught at IPSB. I have CE classes. I've taught different mindfulness retreats for different groups, and I'm the author of Mindful Strategies for Adult Clients with Adverse Childhood Experiences. So the objectives for today, I want us to discuss the effects of toxic stress, discuss mindfulness as self-care for us, the massage therapist, including things we can do throughout our day, and then especially these things that we can drop in between our clients. And even when we're in the session with our client, if we're feeling something that's stressful to us. And then also we'll end today with a discussion of clinician presence. Which is so important to us, especially if we have clients like oncology clients. I'm an oncology massage therapist, or clients that are going through a difficult time. Okay, so we're going to try 4 different types of mindfulness: loving kindness meditation, awareness of sound, self-compassion meditation, and upper body range of motion with breathing, which is kind of my favorite. It seems like a little embarrassing to do it, but once you've tried it, you might get really excited by it too. So let's start with a mindful moment. So I'll invite you to get into a position that's alert yet relaxed. You can go ahead and take some nourishing breaths. So start with an exhale and then take a few inhales. Your eyes can be open or they can be closed. And what I'm doing right now is taking my hands and kind of rubbing them on my thighs to reorient myself to where I am in the here and now, getting that feeling of the fabric, feeling myself sitting in this chair, looking around me to see things in my environment, to kind of allow my body to place me where I am in the here and now. So I'll invite you to do a few of those things. And then I'll invite you to think just for a moment, what did you want to get out of today's presentation? Why were you excited to click on the email and register for today? And you set everything else aside to take this time right now to listen and watch us. What do you want to get out of this presentation? And just take some nourishing breaths as you sit with that for a second. Okay, and then take one more breath. You can rub your hands together if you'd like, open your eyes if they were shut. And we're going to go into the presentation. So first we'll start right at the most heartful part, which is toxic stress. This is something I've learned a lot about in the past couple years writing my book. So according to this article, Toxic Stress Effects Prevention and Treatment, toxic stress is our body's response to prolonged or permanent stressors. And so this is when the stress is really affecting our life and it begins to affect our body systems. It's the physiologic response. And unfortunately, it can result in end organ dysfunction. If someone has a toxic stress in their childhood, when they come to adulthood, they can actually come down with chronic diseases that can be directly linked back to the level of toxic stress that was in their childhood. So this presentation, like was mentioned earlier, this will be in your email tomorrow, so you can go ahead and click that link. There's a very interesting NPR report from a few years ago where they actually can let you take this adverse childhood experiences quiz, so you can get an idea of how much stress, stressors you had in your childhood. So there's also something called tolerable stress. So let's look at the difference between toxic stress, which is the worst, and tolerable, which is a little more tolerable. So the tolerable stress response activates the body's alert systems because we have severe and longer lasting difficulties. So it's still something really serious, like a loss of a loved one, a natural disaster, a frightening injury. But if this activation is time limited, so it's not going on for years and decades, and most importantly, it's buffered by relationships with adults. So if you're a child and you have quality relationships with adults inside and outside of your family, this can help your body as a child to more effectively deal with those stressors, and potentially your body, your physiology, and your organs can recover from what might otherwise be very damaging effects to your body as it's growing. So what happens to the body during toxic stress? This very, the worst type. As far as hormones, we know that this prolonged cortisol activation, and there's also a persistent inflammatory state. So the body is always in a state of inflammation, and it can't really get back to baseline, back to homeostasis, like calm down in between these stressors. Children who experience early life toxic stress are at the risk of long-term adverse childhood adverse health effects as an adult. And part of it's because they have maladaptive coping skills, they have poor stress management, they may have an unhealthy lifestyle, and then it can also manifest in physical and mental disease. This is a lot. This is a lot to learn and understand. The value in understanding it is a lot of times people will say like, oh, I had, something happened to me that was bad, but like, you just need to get over it. Like, you just need to suck it up, buttercup, and, don't worry about it. And the past is the past and don't bring it up. But it's very important for us to understand that this is something that can cause health effects down the line in someone's life. And specifically because I'm an oncology massage therapist, I'm very interested in the link between chronic stress and cancer development. And in this journal article, they do find a relationship between chronic stress and then the eventual development of cancer. Specifically, they state that it activates your hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. So this is all these stress hormones going through your body, and the sympathetic nervous system, that fight or flight nervous system. And this is harmful to the body when these systems are constantly called upon to and constantly activated, and the body is in this persistent inflammatory state. So hearing all this, you might be like, oh my gosh, this is like crazy. Do I have to just go and live on a mountaintop, Kathleen, and just meditate to get all this stress out of my life? Do I have to drop everything that I'm doing in order to make a difference? And luckily for all of us, especially me who lives at sea level, we don't have to go live on a mountaintop. But we do have to understand what this looks like in our life. So what do the effects of stress look like? And we may have heard the sympathetic nervous system called the fight or flight nervous system. There's also freeze, and there's also fawn. So fight or flight, and you or someone else, is just this outsized response to whatever is happening. Like, we're instantly going into that argument, or we're instantly wanting to run away, or we just feel like we're frozen and we can't respond to when someone is insulting us or trying to attack us. And then the fourth one that's not often talked about is fawn, and that is when someone just they set aside all their own boundaries, and it's just all about serving and giving to this other person. Like, don't worry about me. I can, take on all these volunteer opportunities and give and give and give of myself until there's nothing left. And that is the fawn response. So just having a curiosity as we go forward, when are we seeing ourselves or our loved ones going into this fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response, because that is a stress response in their body. So that was a lot of serious stuff to get into right away. So I'll encourage you to do what my little dog Tito did when I took him for a walk about a half hour ago before this presentation. We were walking behind like this owner and the Pomeranian, and then the Pomeranian was, trying to go towards him, and he was trying to go away. And then we went around them. And when he got back on the path, what did he do? And maybe this is what your dog did. He shook himself out. He took a moment to just shake off everything. So let's take a moment to just move around and shake off all this big, serious science stuff we just heard, because we want to understand it, but we don't want it to overpower us. And we want to get back into the positive problem solving mode, which will allow us to look at what might be wrong that's happening, and also look at some solutions that we might drop into our life when we see ourselves going into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. So what I'm talking about when I talk about like reorienting and getting back on track is this wonderful word, resilience. So resilience is the ability to think clearly, to make intentional choices, to be able to communicate with others, not just argue with them, and not just like sulk and go away, but actually have communication with others and to connect with others during stressful situations. So not to isolate ourselves, but to actually connect with others. So what are some stress busters? How can we reduce stress in our life? This is a wonderful presentation by a website, an organization called PACE's Connection. So the website that you can get more details on this is below at the bottom of this slide. But basically our stress busters are supportive relationships with others. We need quality sleep, enough sleep so you wake up refreshed. We need balanced nutrition. We need physical activity and movement every day. We need to experience nature in our lives, whether that's a picture or going outside and in the greenery. We need quality mental health care. If the time is, all of this is very overwhelming and we feel like it's time to talk with a professional, we need access to quality mental health care. And we need mindfulness practices that we can use. And so I'll be plucking out that last one and talking more about mindfulness practices. So what are we actually doing in meditation when we're meditating? And this is from a study in 2020. It's all comes down to awareness in the present moment. So what the things that the grounding techniques that I kind of talked about when we were having our mindful moment all brought us back from thinking in the future and being frustrated over what happened in the past to being here in the present moment. And if we're here, if we're aware of what's happening in the present moment, we can observe what is arising, we can observe what is falling away. And that's really crucial because when we're in a stressful situation, sometimes we feel like where I am right now is never going to stop. It's never going to get any better. I am stuck. When the reality of the present moment is it's always changing and we can't hold on to anything because everything is always changing and evolving. So being in this mindful way of life allows us to connect more often to the present moment and see that indeed we're not stuck anywhere, everything is moving. And like it says, by allowing thoughts to come and go without attaching to them, without creating a story about a thought that you have, holding on to your thoughts, you can learn that calm and stillness follows. And they continue, we come to know our minds over time and be aware of patterns of thinking that habitually arise. And the key is to gently catch that spiral of thoughts when we're going off into this story that we're telling ourselves, this chatter, and observe it and just note it and say, you know what, I'm feeling anxiety right now. Like I'm thinking right now, like those are thoughts. And allow those thoughts to fall away without judgment. And invariably they will fall away as long as we have this equanimity and don't cling on to them and try to explore them and make a whole story over them. So one thing that people always ask is, can I just try an app? And there are many wonderful apps. I have several apps on my phone that are mindfulness apps. But I would give you a caveat, and this comes with from David Treleaven's book. And he says sometimes breathwork or meditation can be overwhelming for people, especially if you have trauma in your life, in your background. For clients with trauma and toxic stress, traditional meditation and mindfulness techniques may not be beneficial. So this position of sitting still, closing the eyes and focusing on the breath, that may be very triggering for some people. It may cause them anxiety. And indeed, he says attention can re-trigger traumatized states. They can just go straight into feeling the freeze of trauma, what happened in their past when they're trying to meditate and pay attention to what arises. So Kristen Neff, who's really a great leader in mindfulness, she recommends if you find yourself very self-critical of yourself, you may find it difficult to practice mindfulness consistently until you start by engaging your inner critic. So self-critical people might benefit from starting with a self-compassion practice, which we'll practice in a few minutes, before taking this formal mindfulness training where you're sitting still in an alert position with eyes closed and practicing with your breath. And specifically what I've seen as an example of this is some people will sit, and when we get them to sit for like 5 minutes with their breath, they just like, there were so many thoughts. I wasn't able to do it right. I don't think I'm doing it right. Like there was a lot of pain. I started feeling all this pain. My mind was in the middle of in a million directions. And I don't think I'm doing it right. And you see them beating themselves up for, quote, not being able to be meditating properly. So that's one example of being self-critical. If you're a perfectionist, starting with a self-compassion practice might be a good option for you. And then my advice, if these interventions, if you try all the tips and you're like, Kathleen, it's just not working, like none of this is working, I can't close my eyes, I'm feeling very traumatized, I can't do self-compassion, I'm just beating myself up, that may be your body giving you a sign that you're ready to find a quality mental health professional. So this is more from Kristen Neff. The loving kindness and compassion meditation cultivates the qualities of warmth and goodwill towards oneself and others. And these qualities of warmth and goodwill towards yourself is essential for tolerating and transforming difficult states of mind. So let's try it. Let's try a loving kindness meditation. So this is going to be a 2-minute practice. And if it feels overwhelming, turn back to your resource. So we were kind of playing with some resources earlier. I was talking about looking around the environment and seeing the different things on your desk, looking and seeing different colors, placing your hands on your thighs and rubbing them back and forth, feeling yourself sitting. So if any of this feels overwhelming, you can open your eyes at any time. Stop this at any time and walk away, and you can turn to your resources, whatever you have found that's useful to bring you back into the present moment when you're having a stressful response. So we'll start by sitting in an alert yet relaxed position, and you can have your eyes open or shut. And I am going to repeat the words that you see on the screen. So I'll have you start with an exhale. And then you can inhale and exhale whenever your body calls you to do so. And I'll invite you to think of a person who loves you very much. And I'll invite you to imagine them sending you love and well wishes. So we're thinking of a person who loves you and imagining them sending you their love, sending you their well wishes. And then I'll invite you to take one more breath with this part. And then for the second half, I'll invite you to send the love that you feel back to that person, because just like you, they wish to be happy as well. And you may wish to repeat silently, may you be happy, may you be healthy, may you have ease of being. May you be happy, may you be healthy, may you have ease of being. And we'll take one more breath. And then we'll go ahead and let that go. Open your eyes, wiggle your fingers and toes, and do any stretching if you need to. And think for a moment, what did you notice? What did you notice in that practice? And when could you add that to your self-care practices? This is short enough. You could even add it in between massages as you're changing the massage table, or before or after your session, just reconnecting with that feeling of loving kindness. So our next practice is going to be very simple. It's just awareness of sound. Again, if it feels overwhelming to listen to the sounds in your environment, just turn to whatever resources you have. And I'm just going to have us sit in silence here and invite you to listen to the sounds that are within the room. We're just listening to the sounds in the room. And for the second half, I'll invite you to listen to any sounds that there are outside of the room that you're in. We'll take one more breath here. And then let that go. And then open your eyes, wiggle your fingers and toes, and stretch if you need to. And what did you notice about this practice? I love this practice. It's so simple. You can do it anywhere, even with people, and no one knows you're doing it. And it just, it makes me feel very centered in myself when I just take time to listen to what's around me. So just take a moment and think of, brainstorm, when could you add that to your self-care practices? Just a simple minute of listening to the sounds around us. So let's move into a self-compassion mindfulness. This is really great. If someone is going through a situation, we can have self-compassion for ourselves. We can have self-compassion for our client if we have a client that's going through a difficult situation. And we can even share this with our client and their spouse or their loved one, and they can do this meditation with one another. So this will be a 2-minute practice. So we'll go ahead and start with an exhale and then take an inhale. And I like to take a hand on my upper chest and just gently in a circle, just give myself some self-care. And just listening to the things that I'll say. It's hard to experience this chronic stress. And this is part of being human. There's nothing wrong with feeling frustrated about our stressors. And we're not the only one who experiences chronic stress. And if you haven't already, I'll invite you to put your hand on your heart and say something kind to yourself. If that is difficult to think of an example of what would you say to a friend who is struggling with chronic stress, and say that to yourself. And then we'll end this massage. We'll end this meditation with a few seconds of grounding ourselves. Take a moment to feel your body against the furniture wherever you're sitting or standing. You can rub your hands against the fabric on your thighs. You can give yourself a hug. Take one more breath. And then let this go. And open your eyes, wiggle your fingers and toes, and stretch out if you need to. And what did you notice about this practice? And when could you add this to your self-care practices? This is a big one. This one can have a really great response for people who are undergoing chronic stress. This is something that I can pull out of my pocket if in the middle of a massage or with a friend, there's just a deep conversation is coming up. And I like it because I'm not your mental health therapist. I'm not giving you advice, but I'm redirecting you towards self-care for yourself. And then let's try my favorite one, upper body range of motion with breathing. If this feels overwhelming, again, you can turn to your resource. But basically what we're going to do is take some deeper breaths, some diaphragmatic breaths into the belly. And as we're inhaling, those arms are going to go all the way out, really stretch out. And then as we exhale, we can curl in as we exhale. So let's practice it with an exhale and curling in, and then a big inhale, blossoming out, feeling our body take up space, and then an exhale, curling in. Inhale, blossoming out. Exhale, curling in. If you have feet, the feet can straighten out and go wide as well. So you're like a little jumping jack. And then exhale, curling in. Two more. Inhale, blossoming out. If your feet, even your fingers and toes are apart, exhale, curling in. And then last one, let's blossom out, make it a beautiful one. Feel yourself taking up space and then curl in. Wonderful. So let's go ahead and let go of that. Open your eyes if they're closed, wiggle those fingers and toes, stretch and move around if you need to. And how did that feel? I love this opener first thing in the morning. If I've been in massage for a long time, to just get that range of motion and those deep breaths. This is also something that we see and teach to people who have lymphatic diseases, because it gets that diaphragmatic breathing plus the stretching of the arms really gets the lymphatic system starting. So how did that feel? When could you add it to your self-care practices? Okay, so we're in the home stretch, and now I want to talk about clinician presence as an oncology massage therapist. And if you're going to the S4OM conference next month in Minnesota, you can see me there and let me know, when are cancer stories told if you're an oncology massage therapist? What I see in my practice is I need to allow my client to have that moment of my full attention. I often hear the soul-bearing stories as I re-enter the room. So it's not often in that initial intake, but I have my intake. Their oncology professional sends them to me, their surgeon, after their mastectomy reconstruction. And so they get comfortable, they get on the table, they know me a little bit, they've met me. And then when I re-enter after they've undressed to wash my hands, they will tell me their cancer story, how they got their cancer, how many operations they've had, where they are on their path. And I have found in my practice that I stand there next to the table with my hand on the table and take that time to be with them and have eye contact and really show them that they have my full attention when they are telling this story. And I really feel that the eye contact and the clinician presence that I give them is doing as much for them as 90 extra seconds of massage would if I let them talk and I'm behind them washing my hands in the sink. So why is clinician presence important, and why do I connect it to this mindfulness? Because it is one of the reasons that I practice mindfulness, is so I can be a better massage therapist and have better clinician presence. For me, as when I help my clients either massage or after plastic surgery, they're in a period of transition. They're dealing with the effects of pain, and these are both physical and emotional. And we have the opportunity to hear and validate them with our attention as they tell their stories, as they share their fears, as they answer the intake questions that we ask. So I'll invite you to take more than a few minutes. If you have a piece of paper or a journal, I'll invite you to journal these answers after you listen to this presentation. What have your experiences been with clinician presence? Have you had a negative experience with a distracted doctor? And the doctor may have 15 patients that day, but for you, you only have one doctor, and this is your one appointment, and you're going to the doctor because you're scared about something. That's why you're in their office. And on the opposite side of it, have you had a positive experience with a doctor that has amazing clinician presence, that you just came back from that experience and said, you know what? I want to have some of that in my office for my clients. Okay, so we've covered a lot. It's been a little over a half hour, and we've definitely covered a lot. So I'll have us end with another mindful moment. So I'll invite you to sit in a position that's alert yet relaxed. You can keep your eyes open or shut them. And I'll invite you to start by taking a deep exhale. And then a nice nourishing inhale, and take a moment to drop into yourself, into your body. How are you feeling in this moment? And taking some time to think of that reason we thought of earlier in the presentation. Why did you click on this video? Why did you say yes to coming here and spending this time out of your busy schedule to find out more about mindfulness? What is mindfulness going to give you in your life to help you live a better life? And what was the biggest aha moment? What did you learn today? Or what were you reminded of that you already knew inside today that will help you moving forward as a massage therapist? Please put it in the comments. I would love to hear it. And then I'll have us finish with one more breath. And then wiggle the fingers, open the eyes if they're closed. And here is the information on where to find me. I have a mindfulness-based account on Instagram. I'm also on LinkedIn and Twitter. And here is my website, KathleenLisson.com, where you can scroll down and see the link to that free continuing education class that has Nick Timba credit for self-care, for mindfulness. And then when you get the presentations tomorrow in your email, here are some more video presentations that I've given on mindfulness for different groups with chronic illness. And here are the resources. You can look at the studies from today, and that is the presentation. Your presentation is complete. Thank you so much for being here with me.
Thank you, Kathleen. That was wonderful to listen to and be reminded of, in fact. There was something that early on you talk about self-compassion. And I wondered where self-forgiveness plays into that.
I get, you know what? Yeah, this is the second time I've been asked that question. That's a real big one, right? Because it can get in the way, this perfectionism and self-judgment can really get in the way of us growing. We are all people that are making mistakes and learning. That's the whole position. That's the whole purpose of this life. So if we can't get to forgiving ourselves, how can we ever grow? It's so important. Thank you so much for bringing it up.
You're welcome. And I think it's really something that we forget, to be kinder to ourselves. And I'm glad you brought that up as a moment or two to take with yourself.
Yes.
Also, when you mentioned later on in the conversation, the practitioner being distracted, and you're not feeling that they're there with you. It's okay for the client to say, where are you? Or how are there any tricks that you're not distracted by something in the room? Or are there any tricks or helpful hints that you can give to stay focused and stay present with your client in that moment?
For the massage therapist, actually, the thing that really gives me excitement to come back to the massage table every day and do my work is I really love the feeling of tissue underneath my fingers. I really love the feeling of the stroke and feeling how giving them the massage also has through like the mirror neurons, where you can have communication with someone and you can feel their emotions. I can often tap into people's emotions, and then also tapping into the feeling of the texture of their skin from the beginning of it to later in it. And that is a good feedback for us as massage therapists too, because I know that my massage is having an effect because I can feel that tissue changing underneath my hands. And that's one of the things I absolutely love about massage. Especially I practice a type of massage called manual lymphatic drainage. So we're helping the lymphatic system. And I also do fibrosis massage where you can really feel, and the client can feel their stomach or wherever they had liposuction afterwards is a lot smoother and less hard and softer afterwards. So it's something they can feel and it's something we can feel. And I think that tapping into the present moment. So we're not thinking about our last massage and we're not thinking about dinner tonight, but we're in that moment with the client in their presence, doing what we love to do best.
Well, wonderful. I have not seen any comments, well, as I say that, Sally is saying your work is always so informative and valuable for us as therapists. And she appreciates you and all the classes you teach.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been a real pleasure to help my fellow therapists over the past couple of years.
Well, I'd like to mention to the audience that you have presented in EduTalk before. And also you reviewed a book.
It's over essentially. 45 minutes in, it's essentially over.
Well, what I'd like to say is that tonight's session has been recorded, and tomorrow there will be a follow-up email, not only with Kathleen's contact information, but a recording of tonight's EduTalk, as well as a copy of her PowerPoint presentation. And for those of you joining us late, thank you for tuning in, and you will receive this information tomorrow. additionally, Kathleen, in closing, do you have any updates, anything else you would like to share?
Yep. So I am going to be at the Society for Oncology Massage conference next month. So you definitely catch up with me there. And I'm also working on a new book, which hopefully should be out this summer. And it's mindfulness, it's stress reduction practices for people with lymphedema. So if you're interested in lymphatics and lymphatics diseases, the stress reduction, like I was talking about inflammation before earlier in the presentation, stress reduction is very important for people with lymphedema and other lymphatic diseases. So I'm super excited to get that information out. That will be later this summer.
And then followed by another EduTalk in September on the
Yes.
topic.
Yes.
So please keep an eye out for that. Again, I'll mention that in the follow-up email tomorrow. I would like to just take a quick look ahead at upcoming EduTalks. And on March 21st, we have Diana Thompson presenting on complex headache syndrome, focused evidence-based approaches. And then in April, and I can't believe this year is just flying by already, Kelly Lisson, who has presented for EduTalks, will be speaking to the topic of stay relevant in an ever-changing consumer market. Again, all EduTalks are recorded. They can be found on biotone.com under the EduTalk tab, as well as the EduTalk author series with reviews of books and textbooks in the massage field. So thank you so much, Kathleen, for tonight's talk, last year's talk, and September's upcoming talk. You have great information to share. Thank you so much. And any last questions that anyone has? You have a minute.
Yeah, and thank you so much to Biotone. It's really wonderful to be able to, for your company to give us the opportunity to share this important information. And Biotone has an amazing, on their website, you can see all their past EduTalks, and it's really a great foundation in education, especially if you are a new massage therapist, a student massage therapist, someone who wants to kind of dip their toe into a different modality. It's just an amazing resource. So thank you. Thank you so much for providing this for our community.
Well, thank you. And thank you for being a vital part of it. Everyone, thank you for everything you do for the massage community as well. Join us again for upcoming EduTalks. Tomorrow, when I send out the follow-up email, if you do not see it in your in basket, please check spam, because often with attachments, I end up in spam.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. Keep doing good work. Be safe and join us again. Take care.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.